All right, today I want to talk about something new that has come up for me on this journey. So, if you're new here, this is day 19 of my journey into quitting mindless media consumption. And I'm not on a detox, I'm not doing any sort of challenge. This is just 19 days into me making a decision to embody a new state, one where I am not spending and wasting a lot of time mindlessly consuming media, although I am not nixing social media or forms of media consumption altogether. Um, I've just redefined how I use it in my life. So, full disclosure, something happened yesterday that was very shocking and destabilizing potentially to me in a financial way. And it really threw me off my game. If you're not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it is a theory that basically suggests that your primary resources, internal energetic resources, are going to go towards your basic essential needs. So, food, water, clothing, shelter. Anytime any of those basic physiological needs feel at threat, all of your psychological resources are going to go to addressing that basic need and doing whatever needs to be done to secure it for yourself. On this journey of embodying this new state and having done quite well for about 3 weeks, I had this very tumultuous moment where I had to just kind of go to my default coping mechanisms because all of my energy was going towards the stress that required all of my resources to attend to it. I've discussed it before on this channel. I'll certainly talk about it more in the future. But when you're highly sensitive, things can really impact you greatly and take a lot of your mental energy. You tend to kind of hyper focus on things, maybe even have some compulsive tendencies. Very major, stressful things, even sometimes minor things, can be all consuming for you. So, if this sounds like you, if you identify with this, you have ADHD, neurodivergence, you're highly sensitive in any sort of way, failure and flex and an allowance for some breathing room has to be a part of the design in which you are trying to become any sort of new version of yourself. Or it has to be a part of the design of you changing, of you forming a new habit, embodying a new state of being. There has to be an allowance for flobbing, for messing up every once in a while. There are psychological reasons for why this is also very important to not identify with and attach to mistakes. When you attach to a mistake, you accept it as evidence that you are fundamentally flawed. So you fail, you make a mistake, things don't pan out, or you are not exactly behaving in the way that you had planned on. If you attach to that and say, oh, this is me, here I am, here I go again, you are subliminally sending a message to your subconscious that this is simply because you are not good enough, simply because you do not have the equipment to be what you are trying to be. If you attach to that failure and say, aha, this is evidence right here that I'm not good enough, I'm not who I don't have what it takes. That's what you're doing every time you attach to any sort of mistake. You have to just dismiss it. You have to do the best that you can to use the coping mechanism which causes the least amount of damage and allow yourself to move through the moment as gracefully as possible. When you are dealing with stress, it's not a time to push yourself. Particularly if you are a female watching this, if you are somebody who experiences menses, you have different parts of your cycle where your hormones are just not going to support you being hardcore about things, being very disciplined, very strict. It's just not a time when you have that support physiologically to be able to push yourself in those ways. And so flow has to be a that's obviously a pun, but there has to be flexibility within the structure that you're giving to yourself for how you're going to transition to the next phase, the next process, the next better version of yourself. Let failure be a part of the design. Let there be flexibility in the level of your strictness and discipline with yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to be setting yourself up for failure because it's an impossible endeavor, especially if you're highly sensitive and you get thrown around a lot. It has to be a part of your design. Because I have healed a lot and I've learned now how to manage stress, when it comes up, I know to just give myself grace, do the best I can, and then basically dismiss it. Take it as this kind of philosophy that everything happens for you. Every time you experience adversity in your life, it is an opportunity to expand in that area, to expand in learning how to accommodate stress into the design of your person, into the design of your personality, into the design of your values, how to accommodate that stress to get through it without beating yourself up and attaching your identity to it, and to move through and just make it a part of the collage that is you transforming into the person that you've always wanted to be. You are here to tell a story. There is nothing inspiring about a person who never fails, who sets out to do something and just is on it 100% of the time, never deals with any sort of struggle or sort of internal having to overcome, their own enemies. That's what we're all here. That's what this struggle is about. I don't want to glorify struggle because if you're being abused or exploited in any sort of way, that is something that, to the best of your ability, you should 100% fight. But when something that is happening that is inevitable, that you don't have control over, and you're not just like a straight up victim of something, you can use it to learn from it and use it as an opportunity. And that will really help to reframe and reshape your failures as stepping stones into the new level of person that can handle these things. And each time you have a stressor, it's less and less all consuming. And for example, yesterday, this was a major stressful event that happened. And a year or two ago, it probably would have knocked me on my ass for like several days, but it was maybe like 6 to 8 hours that I was struggling, and I kind of had to just divert to the closest thing that I knew that could, distract me, ease me a bit. I got on and I scrolled for, an hour or two. I allowed myself to scroll and to consume media relatively mindlessly. And I allowed it. I actually intentionally. So what is the purpose of this mindless media consumption that I'm about to engage in? It has an intention, and the intention is it's distracting. It's to distract me right now. I'm using it for that purpose. Maybe there are other coping mechanisms that will in the future be more accessible to me to use. Maybe I'll, sit down and meditate and that will be enough. But at this moment in time, this is what I need to do to cause the least amount of damage and get myself through. I did what I needed to do to cope. I slept well. Today's the next day and I'm back on my game. I was down for like half a day, less than a half a day, less than 12 hours that I was, kind of spiraling and needing to be very soft with myself. So have some grace with yourself when you are struggling, especially in the uncertainty of the world, everything that's going on around you. The way that you take care of your mental health is by having a tremendous amount of grace around the expectations that you have for yourself. Push where you can and allow where you must. All right. I'll talk to you guys in a few days. Ciao.